All right, so the other day, what was it? Monday? Yeah. So Monday, we did 3 undefined terms. Remember I told you about those undefined terms? Where are you going to see them? Anywhere? No, specifically, where are you going to have to know the 3 undefined terms? On the quiz. And it's going to be which number on the quiz? It's going to be number 1, okay? I ask you a simple question. Name the 3 undefined terms. So somebody answer that for me. What are the 3 undefined terms? I got line and plane. That's 2. Point. That's correct. Point, line, and plane. All right. So the 3 undefined terms are point, line, and plane. Now, guess what we're going to do? We're not going to do undefined terms. What do you think we're going to do now? Yeah, we're going to do defined terms. That's right. Okay, or definitions. All right. Everybody should have your notebook out. I see a couple. 1, 2, 3, 4. At least I see 4 people with nothing on their desk, just sitting there, lounging, relaxing, and that's great. I'm glad you're having a good time, but I need you working in here. That's what I want. You should have a spiral notebook. Every day, you should come in with that same spiral notebook. The next day, you turn the page, put the next lesson. The next day, you turn the page, put the next lesson. Okay, everybody should be doing that. Just because I don't count that for points or anything does not mean you can just get away with not doing that. All right? You need to have a notebook every single day, and you need to take notes in it. Every time I write something down, you should write it down. That's how you take notes. I've had students ask me all the time, almost every year, what am I supposed to take notes on? I'm like, did I write stuff down on the screen? Yeah, well, write that down. That's what you take notes on, all right? It's as simple as that. It's not brain surgery. All right, enough of that. Well, welcome back from a tiring day, but a good day. Did you guys have a good time yesterday? Yeah, that was pretty good. It feels like it's like yesterday was a Friday. Oh, if they should have it on Friday. That would be a great idea. But I have a feeling that those camps probably do things on the weekends. They probably start on Friday. I have a feeling that's why we can do it in the middle of the week, because probably not too many people go there. All right, enough of that. Let's talk about a certain type of point. Now, I will not ask you to give me the definition. So I'm not going to give you this word, and you're not going to have to write down the definition. All right? But you do need to know what these points are, because I'm going to say something. Well, let's write the points down, or let's write the definitions down, or the words, I should say, if I could speak. And then I'll kind of tell you how I can ask this on a quiz. Okay, I'm not going to say, write the definition for this word. All right, that's good. All right, I always hated when teachers did that, because you memorize it, 5 minutes before class, right? You put it on the quiz, and then you forget it. Would you agree? I want you to learn it. I want you to understand what these points are. What's that? Oh, I don't know. I haven't mentioned a quiz. I'm just saying, we will have a quiz on this eventually, but I don't know when it is. So here we go. It's collinear. That's the word that we're going to learn. Collinear. Because I do have a question on the quiz, and I'm going to say, name 3 collinear points. And you have to know what that means. Just memorizing a definition doesn't mean that you know what that word means. Would you agree with that? You've probably written down, in English class, don't you have to write down definitions? Or have you done that in the past? They give you a word, you write down the definition. Yeah. Okay, that's a very common thing in English class. And that's fine. Spanish class, maybe. I don't know if they do that in there or not. But in here, collinear points are points that lie on the same line. But you have to understand what that means. I'll give you a little drawing so you can understand it. So write this down. Points that lie on the same line. Does it say how many points? No. But if it's points with an S on the end, it's got to be at least how many? Well, 2. More than 2. It's got to be at least 2. 2 or more. Okay? So let's draw a line. It doesn't have to be horizontal like this. I just drew it like that. Okay, there's a line. All right? And I'm going to put a point right on the line. Point A is on the line. Agree? Point B is on the line. So what can I say about points A and B now? They're just say co, and then what? Linear. Co what? linear, all right? So it's got two L's on here, but just think of it as co and then linear. What word do you see in the word linear? Line, right there, okay? You see the word line, don't you? So that's what we're talking about. So the word collinear has got the word line in it, collinear points, so it's got to tell you, well, they're points that have something to do with a line. Well, what do those points do to that line? They lie where? On the line itself, okay? Is point A on that line? Yeah, because that dot is on the line, okay? The point. Is point B on the line? Yes. What if I put a point up here? Whoops, let's make it a point and call it C. Are all three of those points collinear? Why not? C's not on the line, exactly right. Okay, C is not on the line, so all three of those points are not collinear. If I asked you to name all the collinear points, what would you do? What would you say? Just A and B. That's all you would say, all right? And you don't even have to put the word point. If I asked you, name the collinear points on this line, and let's say I gave you a blank. I think on the quiz I do. I don't always do that, but I think on the first quiz that you see, you're going to see a blank. So what would you write? Would you write the word point A? Would you actually put a point and then an A? No. Okay. You would just say, yeah, exactly. You would just say A, comma, what? B. Right? Because when there's just an A sitting there by itself, it automatically, in geometry anyway, what does that mean when you just see a capital letter sitting there by itself? It's an A. It's point A. That's correct. When you see a capital B just sitting there by itself, what does that mean? It means point B. Everybody good? All right. So I can't say C because C does not lie on the same line. Okay. What if I put a D right there? A, B, and D. I could keep putting points forever and ever, right? As long as they lie on that line, you would name all the points on that line. We good? Okay. That's pretty easy, isn't it? So you don't really have to memorize this definition, but on the same lines, why did I put an S in there? On the same line. Points that lie on the same line. Okay? That's what collinear means. All right, let's do another word. Again, this is going to be one of your quiz questions. The reason I remember this is because the honors class just took some quizzes on this. Okay? Their quizzes are a little different than yours, but some of them are very similar. So the second definition that we're going to do is concurrent. Concurrent lines. Not points this time, but lines. All right, what in the world does that mean? Let's write it down. It means that they're lines whose intersection, we haven't used that word before, but I think you know what that means. What does it mean, whose intersection? They cross each other, right? Lines whose intersection is a single point. So let's write that down. Lines. You could probably write this a little easier. You could just say lines that cross each other or something like that, but this is what the book says, whose intersection. And it's good that we introduced this word because we'll be using that word quite a bit through geometry, whose intersection is a single point. Is a single point. Now, some of you may look at this and still not really understand what we're doing, so I'm going to draw a little picture. Hopefully, it'll help you understand. So they're lines with an S on it. So what does that mean? We have more than what? No, we have more than one. We have more than one line. Okay, you could have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Keep going. All right. So multiple lines, and they intersect. Again, what does that mean? They do what? They cross each other. Where? At one single point. That's right. At one point. So all the lines must intersect each other at one point. So let's draw some lines. Draw a line here. Now look, anytime you have two lines, we're going to talk about this word a little bit later in the class. Every single time you have two lines, except for one, with one exception, all right? With one exception, if you have parallel lines, I almost hate saying that, but you've probably heard that word before, right? Parallel. If you have parallel lines, this isn't true, but if any two lines will always intersect at one single point, okay? But what if you introduce a third one? Okay, like right there. Do all three of those points intersect at one particular point? No. Now look, these two intersect here. These two intersect there. These two intersect here. But do they all three come together at one point? No. Could I draw one? You try it, okay? Just draw 2 lines in your notes. Draw 2 lines that intersect. Draw a third line, if I can talk. Draw a third line that intersects at that point right there, all right? And you could draw it any way, all right? Did yours look something like that? Yeah, it doesn't have to be exactly. It could have slanted a little differently, all right? But you should have all 3 lines intersecting at one single point. Then what can I say about all 3 of those lines? They are concurrent, right? And usually we kind of like slur it a little bit. We don't say concurrent. How would you say it? Concurrent, right? We usually say concurrent. But yeah, technically it is concurrent. But in our language it develops or it underdevelops as time goes on. But concurrent, all right? Concurrent lines. Again, what does it mean? They're lines that do what? Intersect at one single point, okay? Now, obviously, if these are lines, they should have what on the ends of them? They should have arrows. Okay, I'm just a little lazy to put the arrows on there. Okay, that makes sense. Let's do an example. And this example is going to look very similar. Okay, it's not going to be exactly, but it's going to look very, very similar to a problem on the quiz and the test, okay? So if you have not been writing anything down up to this point, you should have. But if you haven't, now's the time to start, because you're going to see something that looks like this that's very similar to this on a quiz and test. Maybe put a little note in your notes, right? Put a little arrow. Know this for the quiz. This will be on the quiz, something like that. Quiz question, whatever. Just so that when you get ready to study for the quiz, you look through your notes, and that's why you take notes, supposed to be anyway, is so that you can use it to study for a quiz and a test. All right, here's our situation. How many lines do I have altogether? I got 4 altogether. I got this one right here, this one down here, got this up and down one, I got this slanted one right there, okay? And let's label it. What's it called? If you just put an R right there, what do you think that R represents? It's a capital letter just sitting there by itself, so it must be a what? It must be a point. Which point do you think it's talking about? That point right there. Good. Yeah, it's kind of hard to describe that without me showing it to you. But sometimes they don't put the point there. They don't put a dot, all right? But where they intersect is a point. 2 lines will always intersect at a point, okay? So if you put an R right there, that means it's this point right here. Everybody with me on that? All right. What about T? What point are we talking about there? Yep, the one where they all intersect right here. Okay, so that's point T. If I put an S there, that means that. Now, if I just put a V right there, that's a point. But which one am I talking about? Am I talking about this point here? Am I talking about this one? Am I talking about this one? You don't know. So it's going to be somewhere on here. So what they do is they actually put a dot or a point right there. So that's point V. Does that make sense? So if it's right near an intersection, they don't have to put the dot. They don't have to put the point, okay, a little circle, right? You know that that's the point they're talking about. But if it's somewhere in the middle of the line, then you need to put the point there so you know where that is. Everybody with me on that? All right. They also name these. They name these lines with a lowercase letter. So this is a lowercase k. Sometimes lowercase and uppercase k's look the same, but that's a lowercase k. This is a lowercase l. This is lower m. And this is a lower n. All right? So there's my 4 lines. What are they? Lines what? K, L, M, and N. Everybody good with that? All right. So what I want you to do, 2 questions. Nope. Oh, here's one thing. I didn't have my notes. I should have had. With collinear. What if I said, here, this is like 1A, all right? 1A. What if I put this word, non-collinear? I think they put a dash. That should make sense to you, shouldn't it? Collinear points are points that all lie in the same line. What does it mean to be non-collinear? That they don't. Okay, well, it's not none of them, but yeah, name, like what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to name two non-collinear or three non-collinear points. So C would definitely be one of them. I can't go A, B, D, right? But as long as C is included, I could go what? If I ask you to name three non-collinear points, non-collinear, this could be something on a quiz. All right, so what if I ask you to name, I'll put name right here, name three non-collinear points in this picture right here. What would you say? You could say A, then what else? C, and then what else? What other points do I have? B, right. I could go B or D, it doesn't matter. It says just name three of them. That means two of them could lie on the same line, but all three of them cannot lie on the same line. Everybody see that? So A, C, and B are non-collinear. You're like, well, Mr. Hamrick, A and B, they're collinear. Yeah, but C is not. So all three of them are non-collinear. Got it? What's another situation? A what? A, C, D. That would be another one I could write down, couldn't I? All right, what's another one? Yeah, B, D, C, or B, C, D. Doesn't matter what order you put them in. Okay, or C, B, D. That would be it. Okay, I think that's all the options that you have on that one. All right, everybody with me on that? Non-collinear? So, with that said, I didn't have them in my notes, but they do ask that on this one right here. Question 1, it says to name exactly what we just did. 3 non-collinear points. And you could have several different answers for this, okay? There's not just one answer. And you'll see that a lot in geometry, okay? If they ask you to name things, like in algebra, like x was 3, and that was it. There was no other options. X was 3, and you couldn't write anything else. But in geometry, every once in a while, you could have a lot of different ways to write your answer. So name 3 non-collinear points. So just give me 3 points that don't lie on the same line. Yeah, Abdul? What is it? Okay, I need 3, though. I need 3. V, what else? K. Is K a point? K is not a point. K is a name. I'll tell you what, I'll stop being lazy, and I'll put arrows on there. Well, give me a second. Let me write the arrows, and then I'll look at it. All right, there we go. So you can't say K because K is not a point. It's a lowercase letter. All right, let's go V, R, and T. Good. V, R, and T. All right, look, V is here, R is here, T is here. Do all 3 of those points lie on the same line? No, they don't. You got a bunch of other options, don't you? Let's just list them. Well, SRT. Okay, SRT. What else? RVS. Okay, and you could always go backwards, on how you list them. Yeah, you get the idea, right? So what do you think they're going to ask you about now? Not non-collinear, but what do you think? Name 3. I'm not going to write the word name. Name 3 what? Collinear points. So what does that mean? If they're collinear, that means they lie on the same line. So give me 3 points that all lie on the same line. T, V, and S. And that's it, right? Right? Like R and T, is there another line? Is there another point that's named that is on that line right there? No. What about this line N down there? There's only 1 point on line N, isn't there? What about M? Well, there's R and S, but I don't have a third one. What's the only one that has 3 named points on it? Line L. That's right. And so the 3 collinear points would be T, V, and S. You with me? Again, this is just definitions, just learning what these words mean. That's all we're doing today. It's not much work. It's not really math, is it? All right, it's just learning what words mean. Abdul? The non? This one right here?
No, like up more. That one.
Yeah. Well, look, A, C, and B. Do A, C, and B all lie on the same line?
No.
No. So that must mean they're what? They're non-collinear. Okay. Now, give me 3 points that do lie on the same line. A, B, and D. Right. Everybody got it? You good? Okay. Let's see. What else are we going to do? What was the other word that we learned? Name 3 what? Concurrent, good. Name 3 concurrent. Oops. Concurrent what? Not points, but lines. Okay, lines are concurrent. What does that mean? What am I looking for? I'm looking for three lines that do what? They intersect at one point. Okay? Everybody got that? All right, so where is that point where they intersect? Give me a letter. Just say point T. Yep. So right there. That's the only place where 3 lines intersect at one point. All right, so let's name the lines. So let's do the up and down. What's the name of that line? Yeah, it's lowercase k. And then what else? What's L? Yep, that's this slanted one right here. So we'll name it L. And what's the other one? N. That's correct. It's this one right here. Oops. Right? Is M a part of 3 concurrent lines? No, it's not. Now, it hits here and it hits here, but it doesn't hit with 2 other lines, does it? It only crosses one line here. People say, well, yeah, it intersects L and K, so that's 3, that's 3 lines, M, L, and K. But they don't all intersect at what? One point, at one point. This is the only spot right there where 3 lines intersect each other. Make sense? Yeah. It's not too hard, is it? No. You just got to know what the words mean, and that's all we're doing. That's what this lesson's about. And we're going to have a lot of lessons from time to time, especially when we first start a chapter. Usually that first lesson in that chapter is a bunch of definitions, so we learn what these words mean. Maybe the first couple lessons, all right, we just learn what the words mean. There's really not a whole lot of math. All right, let's move on. We got a few more to do, and then we'll be done. I don't know why I went back to naming this 1, 2, 3, but I did. So these are more definitions, all right? And I called it 1. Don't know why. I called that 1, and I called concurrent point, or what was it? Collinear points 1, but anyway, I did. Let's see. Here it is. I'm not even going to write down the definition. I'm just going to draw a picture and just explain it to you because the definition is a little lengthy, and I just don't want to write all that stuff out. So it's coplanar. So what word do you see in there that we've talked about before? A plane. That's right. So plane is basically what? Just a flat surface. Keeps on going forever and ever, right? But we usually draw it with a little bit of a slant to it, don't we? All right? So if you see something like, if you see something like that in a geometry book, what does that usually mean at this point anyway? It means a plane. That's right. Okay. And I don't even have a picture in my notes, so I'm just doing this. We'll call that plane what? Plane M, right. How do you name a plane? We did this on Monday. You name a plane by using a lowercase letter and you put it in one of the corners. Okay. Usually I put it in the top right corner. Doesn't have to be. It could be top left, bottom right. Doesn't matter. I usually put it up in the top right if I'm making it up. Now, coplanar points. Now, we did collinear points, right? What word was in collinear? Line. So that was points on the same what? Line. What do you think this is? Points in the same plane. That's right. Okay, points in the same plane. So here's a little object lesson. Okay, if I had a point here, we'll call that A. I had a point here, B. I had a point here, C. Look at all 3 of those points. Where are they? They're all in plane what? Plane M. That's correct. Okay, they're all in plane M. So they're all in the same what? Plane. So all 3 of these points would be considered what? Coplanar points. Okay? So if I asked you to name 3 coplanar points, you would do that. That would be your answer. Okay? What if I stick a point out here like this? It would still be ABC because where is point D? It's outside the plane. Okay, now, again, we're writing on 2-dimensional surfaces, okay? Some people would look at this, like if I was actually doing this on the board, on the whiteboard, all right? People would look at this and say, Mr. Hamrick, you put that point way up here, but it's still on the same board, right? It's still in the same plane. But remember, we're kind of looking at this as 3-dimensional. So this is a little flatter. Use this. So let's use this as our plane. Everybody see this? All right, if you're on YouTube, You can't see this. I'm just holding up a folder, flat folder. So here's point A, point B, point C. Where would point D be? Would it be like out here, like this, like, because remember, this plane keeps on going forever, doesn't it? All right. But where would point D be located? It's probably like up here somewhere, right? Or over here, or maybe even down here. You follow me? So it's not on that flat surface, right? So you got to consider that flat surface. So think of that point D. Think of that as three-dimensional. Here's your flat surface, but point D is hovering above it, like right here. Everybody see that? All right, so that's where point D is. Okay, a lot of people get confused because they think, well, that screen right there is a flat surface. D's on that screen. C and A and B are on that screen, so they must be coplanar. But that's not really what we're drawing. Okay, we're drawing this situation, a three-dimensional situation. There's point A, B, and C, and point D is way up here. Okay? All right, so that's coplanar points. That's pretty easy. Especially since we did collinear, we kind of know what all that means. Oops. Just trying to keep that. There we go. That's what I want to get rid of. And let's get rid of that. All right, let's do another one. So instead of coplanar points, what do you think the second one is? It's going to be coplanar, but what's the next thing that we talked about after points? Lines. Very good. All right, so coplanar lines. That must mean that they are what? On the same plane. They're lines on the same plane. So again, look up here at this folder that I'm holding. If this line is on that plane, and this line right here is on that plane, then they're coplanar. What about a line that's doing this? Watch. And I'm going to draw that. I think we drew this on Monday, didn't we? Where it intersects, that line intersects. So watch. If this line right here, is that on the yellow plane? Is that on the folder plane? No, it's not. It goes through it, right? It intersects it. It's not on it. When it's on it, it's got to be completely flat on it like this. Everybody got it? So that would be a coplanar line. So let's draw a couple of them. Let's put some color in here. Goodness. What am I waiting for? All right, so let's put a line right there. And I'll put arrows just to make sure we know it's a line. And we'll just call that line L. Then I'll put another line in there like this. And we'll call it line, I don't know, P. All right. See those two lines right there? Where do they lie? They lie where? Like right in the same plane. They're on plane what? M. They're on plane M. Okay? They're on it. Okay? Sometimes people say it's in it, but sometimes in it kind of sounds like it goes through it. I don't know. Some people think that. But on it, in it, you could say the same thing. We'll just say on. So these are two lines that lie on the same plane. That plane is plane M. We good? What if I had a line like this? I think we did this on Monday. Didn't we do that dotted line thing? Yes? No? Didn't we do a line that had some dotted in it? I thought we did. Maybe it was the other class I did that. I don't know. I'll show you now. So watch this. What if I had like this, and then it hits the plane at that point? I didn't do dotted lines on Monday. I didn't do this. All right, well, I'm doing it now. And trying to make that kind of straight. What's going on here? Yeah, doesn't just cross it. Give me a good word. We used it earlier today. Intersects it, that's right. So see the yellow one right there? Here's what's going on. Everybody look up here. See this pen? Here's the plane. This is plane M, this folder right here. This pen is line, whatever, yellow line, okay? What it's doing, it's coming through, let's slant it a little bit, watch. It's coming through like this. It hits at that point, right? I could have labeled it, but it hits at that point, but then what's it do? Does it just stop there? Nope, it keeps on doing what? Going. Why the dotted line? Why in the world did I put a dotted line there? Because look at this. Can you see the whole entire pen? No, I don't think anybody can, right? At that angle. So what do you think that dotted line represents? It's the part of the line that you can't what? That you can't see. That's right. But then it pokes out the end of it, right? And it keeps on going, and you'll be able to see the rest of it. So this part right here is the part you can't see. So again, We're trying to draw a three-dimensional situation on a two-dimensional surface. All right, and so you got to kind of understand what that looks like. So really, it doesn't have to go straight up and down, but it is coming in at an angle, hitting right here. This is the part that you can't see, but it's still there. It's behind it, right? It's basically behind the plane, and then it comes out the other end, and that's the part you can see again. So this is a line that intersects. Is this line, we'll call it line R, is that line coplanar with lines L and P? Do all three lines lie on the plane? Come on, we just got done talking about it. What does this do? Is this line that goes through it, that intersects it, does that lie on the plane? No, it's on the plane means this. All right, everybody see that? On the plane means it's flat. It's sitting there, right there. It doesn't go through it. It just lies. It's like a part of the plane, right? But if it goes and it cuts through it out the other end, that's not lying on it. It touches it, right? It touches it at that one point. See where it intersects? So it does touch it, but is it on it? No, it's not. It does what? What's the math word or geometry word? It starts on I. It intersects. Very good. It intersects. You with me? Yeah. All right. It's called an intersecting line. So this line right here intersects the plane. So here's how I would say it. I'll write it in yellow. So line R intersects. What does it intersect? Plane M. Good. Plane M at, now I haven't labeled this. Let's just call it A. Right? At where? Where does it intersect the plane? Where does it touch it? At point A. So we just put an A right there. Everybody with me? Now, I'll tell you this. I don't know why I didn't cover this with your class, but I covered it with the other class, I'm pretty sure. That you will have a problem on the quiz where you're going to have to draw something. All right? I might tell you to draw line. What did we do up here? I wouldn't ask you to draw that. But I could ask you to, like here. I could say draw line. Draw a line with collinear points A and B. Okay, does that make sense? So what do? You draw a line. If they're collinear, what happens to A and B? They're right on the line. So you just draw a little dot, put an A, draw another dot, put a B, right? And that's what that would be, all right? So then I could ask you to draw line R that intersects plane M at where? Point A. So what would you draw? You wouldn't have to do the green and the pink one. All right, so you draw a plane first, kind of make it slanted like that, put a little M in one of the corners, and then you would draw this thing. Okay, at the top of it, it's solid till it hits, and then it goes dot, dot, dot till it gets to the edge right here, then it goes solid again. All right, did you write that down? Because you're going to have to draw that on a quiz. All right, here's another spot. Put a little arrow, something. Know this for the quiz. Be able to draw this. So I'm going to give you those words. Okay, this is what I'm going to give you. And I'm going to ask you to draw a diagram that describes this or something. I forget exactly how I word it, but I say draw this. Can you do that? Yeah, you got it right in front of you. You should be able to do it. Okay. All right, a couple more and we're done. This next one's not super important, but you see it once in a while. So we'll talk about it. And it's got a funny name. It's probably a word that you've not heard before, but it's called skew lines. You ever heard of that? Skew. Some people might say, I don't know, how would you... Usually they use the word askew, A-S-K-E-W. It just means like somebody would say, their argument is askew, all right, which means it's going in all kinds of different directions, right? It has no point that it lands on, okay? So if your argument or if your conversation was askew, it means it's going all kinds of crazy ways. Here's what askew lines basically are. They're lines that are not coplanar. We can write that down. Let's write that down. Lines that are not what we just finished talking about, are not coplanar, which means they don't lie in the same what? In the same plane, okay? So check this out. Here's our plane again, this yellow plane. Let's see if I had 3 hands, I could do this. Okay, here we go. So see that marker right there, that pen right there, the black one? That's on the plane, agreed? What about this one right here that intersects the plane? Is this one on the yellow plane? Is this red pen on the plane? No. So tell me something about this line, this red line, and that black line right there. They are skew. Why? Because they're not on the same plane, right? I could have a line going out like this, like way out here like this. Is this line right here on that plane? No. Is that line on the plane? Yeah. They're in 2 different planes, so they must be what? Skew. They are skew lines. We don't really do a whole lot with skew lines, but it's good to know the word. Here's something we're going to do a lot of, and we've already said the word. Does anybody remember what I said earlier, and I said we're going to talk about it at the end of class? What is it? Parallel. Very good. Okay, so let's talk about parallel lines. Now, parallel lines, they do lie on the same plane. So they are coplanar. All right? So they are get this marker thing to work. They are coplanar lines that, now let's think about this. Here's our plane again. So they got to be coplanar, but would these 2 lines right here be coplanar? I'm sorry, would they be parallel? You know what parallel means, don't you? What does it mean? What's going to happen? Look, these lines would eventually touch each other, wouldn't they? Okay, but if I keep moving this until what? Until they will never touch. Do you see that? They'll never, give me a better geometry word though, not touch. They'll never do what? Intersect. So these 2 lines right here, if they never intersect each other, but they're in the same plane, then what do we call those? Parallel. Okay, we got parallel lines in this room. Do you see any? Look at where the floor and the wall come together. You see that line right there? Right here at the bottom? Where's a parallel line to that? Well, look at the ceiling and where the wall comes together. Do you see that? So they're in the same plane. They're on the plane of this wall, right? But they're not going to intersect each other. As long as they build it straight, all right? Then they won't intersect each other. So those would be parallel lines. You've heard of parallel lines for a long time. So how do we finish this up? Parallel lines that what? Do not, well, let's use a better word than that, than touch. Intersect. All right? So here's how I show it on here. Now, on my program, I can copy and paste, and that makes them exactly the same. See, it's got the same length and the same slant and everything. Everybody see that? So these 2 lines will never do what? They'll never intersect each other. Let's say intersect. All right, let me put arrows on the end to show that they're lines. We'll call this line L. We'll call this line M. We have a symbol. We have a couple symbols. Let me show you this first one. If I wanted to show you just by drawing something on the lines that they're parallel to each other, this is what we do. Everybody look at this. This is very important. If I put like a little arrow inside of that line, not the 2 ones on the ends, okay, but if I put one in the middle somewhere, it doesn't have to be dead in the middle. It could be like up here, but it's just not at the very ends. If I put 2 arrows like this, what do you think that tells me about those 2 lines? That they are what? They're parallel. That's right. See those 2 arrows right there? That tells me just by looking at the picture that they're parallel to each other. All right? So you'll see that quite often. Here's another thing that you'll see. You'll see line L. Instead of writing out the word is parallel to, that'd be a pain in the butt because we're going to do a lot of stuff with parallel lines. Instead of writing that out, we have a little symbol. All right? So there's line L, there's line M. The symbol is a straight, 2 straight up and down lines. That means right there, see that thing right there? Okay, it looks like an 11, but that means parallel. That's our symbol. Oops. I think I'm trying to write too fast. That's why it messes up like that. All right, so that little symbol right there means parallel. Just 2 straight up and down lines, vertical up and down lines, in between 2 lines, that means they're parallel. So there's 2 ways to tell that they're parallel. If they just put the arrows on there, automatically we know they're parallel, all right? Or they could tell you. Sometimes they'll do this. They'll use this word. They'll say given. You'll see that quite a bit. They'll say given. Line L is parallel to line M, and then you know they're parallel. We're not going to get deep into it in this chapter, but there's another chapter where we do a whole lot. I mean, almost the whole entire chapter is just about parallel lines. Can you even imagine that there'd be so much to learn about just two lines that don't intersect each other? It's crazy. But almost a whole entire chapter just on parallel lines. All right? But we're just scratching the surface right now. All right? The next one, I cannot draw very well. Let me see if I can find one online. So I'm going to go, figures. My internet's not working right when I need it. Let's just take a box. I used to have a couple empty boxes and I just put stuff in them. Trying to find, okay, here's one. It's not empty. Oops, okay, a lot of stuff in it. All right, here's a box right there. Okay, the next thing is not parallel lines, but is going to be what? What do? We go from lines to what? No, we went from points to lines to what? To planes. So this time we're going to talk about parallel what? Not lines, but parallel planes. Actually, I could just point to the ceiling and the floor, I guess, to show you that. So what do you think that means? Parallel line or parallel planes are planes that do not what? Intersect each other. So let's look at the ceiling. You see the ceiling? Point to something or tell me a name of something that's parallel to that plane where the ceiling is. The floor, exactly right. Okay, again, if they build it properly, right? If they didn't build it with slants and stuff, but it looks pretty parallel. So the floor and the ceiling are parallel. That wall over there where the door is, that's parallel to what? Is that parallel to the floor? No, they intersect, don't they? But that line or that wall over there by the door is parallel to what else? That wall over here where the windows are. That's right. They're parallel. That back wall is parallel to this front wall. You see it? Because they go in the same direction. They never intersect. Look at this box. The top of the box is what? Parallel to the bottom of the box. Okay? So this plane right here and this plane right here are parallel to each other because they'll never touch. This little side right here, this edge of this box, is parallel to which one? The front one? No, this one over here on the side. See these two sides? They are parallel. And they're all planes. They represent planes. Like Mr. Hamrick, that plane is only that big. But remember, this just represents where the plane is. The plane technically does what? It keeps going forever and ever. Okay? Does that help? All right. This is good stuff. Now, you may think, oh, these are just words. The reason I'm stressing this so much is because I know I've been teaching geometry for, oh my word, 35 years at least. Well, no, I took 10 years off. So like 26, 27 years I've been teaching geometry, all right? And I know how important these words are, okay? Parallel lines, parallel planes, those are crazy important that you know what that means. Okay, collinear and coplanar and all those and concurrent, yeah, they're pretty important. But wow, parallel lines, you're going to do a ton of stuff with that. So let's make sure that you understand that. Okay? I think that's it. Here's your very first assignment out of the geometry book. So you need to hang on to it. You can't say, well, Mr. Hamrick, I forgot my book. Well, too bad. That's just like you just didn't do your homework. All right? You got to have your book. I don't even mind so much. I mean, I would rather you bring your book to class. But if you're going to forget it at all, then coming to class without your book is usually not that big of a deal. But make sure when I give you an assignment that you take the book home because that's where the problems are. All right? So you've got to have that book and you got to take it home. I know it's big and it's heavy and all that kind of stuff, but that's school. You know, we've been doing that for years. When I was a kid, I didn't even have a book bag. Is it because I was too poor or anything like that? Nope, nobody had a book bag. That wasn't the thing. Nobody carried book bags when I was in high school. Everybody carried their books how? Just under their arm. I mean, I'd go to classes and I'd have like 4 books. My arm would be out like this, going from class to class with my books like this. We didn't carry book bags. I mean, they made book bags, but it wasn't cool. Nobody did it. Everybody just carried them under their arms, okay? But now you got book bags. It makes it a lot easier. So there we go. So what do you always put on your homework? The section number. So we're going to call it section 1-2. Put a dash. Section 1-2, all right? And if you want to put the page numbers, that's fine. That probably helps you a lot. But I am looking for the section number. And then we're going to do 1 to 18. It is. Yep. I give you that lesson plan on Mondays. And that's always on RenWeb. Okay. I do that Sunday night. So it is on RenWeb if you don't have the lesson plan thing. So there's 3 ways you should know what your homework is. Would you agree? There's one on RenWeb. Okay. There's one on YouTube. And there's one on the piece of paper that I give you every Monday. So there's no excuses to not know what we were doing on particular days. Now, obviously, we got behind on Monday because we only did half the lesson, right? So we're off a little bit, but so this is actually Monday. So we just kind of pushed it a day, but I think you guys can figure that out. All right, get that done and have it finished for tomorrow, okay?